I got a new t-shirt on there for you guys. Rescuing Princess.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Well, good evening. I'm so excited. This is so fun. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
It's Melanie, right?
It is Melanie, yes.
Excellent.
And you are? So I don't even know. I was just like blue flower. I'm like,
that's who I am. I'm blue.
You're blue? Just blue? All right.
Blue. All right. So where I like to start with these episodes is because the whole focus of the podcast is really about not just exploring things and talking about the things that we experience that sometimes we don't talk about regularly, right? So it's like normalizing some of these things that we all go through and experience. And I really like starting at the spot in your life where everything kind of opened up and expanded because you started to see, sometimes it's like behind the veil, or like you start to question reality. Like there's these little moments in life, but what was the big key moment for you where things kind of just started to open up into, okay, there's more here than what meets the eye? So kind of like the moment of spiritual awakening, but not quite so direct, because I think it's so varied, right? So there's so many moments. So let's get into it. When was yours?
Cool. Good question. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was because I was very young. So it's been something I've always known about myself, but I would say that the moment that's really imprinted in my brain in terms of realizing what I was and what I am and my abilities and stuff was, I think I was beginning high school. I was about 14, 15, and we're in the cafeteria and we're with a bunch of other girls and stuff. And I just got this really strong vision in my head, and I just came out of my mouth. I just kind of said, oh, nice. I was like, I see a house with this man, and I described it in like great detail. And this girl at the table, her face went white, and she was just like, what are you talking about? That's my grandfather. He just like died and stuff. And I was like, I'm starting high school. I just want to be with the cool kids. And needless to say, that didn't make me cool. It made me like the opposite of cool.
Was that the first time that you had ever had kind of an experience like that? Or earlier on in childhood, did you see things, or do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I definitely saw things all my life, but in my head, I just thought everybody saw them, number one. And I thought that I was just always told I had a very vivid imagination, from a very young age. They're like, Melanie, you're so creative, you're so imaginative, all these things you make up and stuff. And I was like, and the stories I tell, and that's what I was kind of, and so that's why I ended up going into theater and that kind of thing, because I think I was just programmed at a very young age to think that, love that, to think that was, that I was a good storyteller. But in actual fact, I think I was, I was just telling the stories of other people's lives that were happening inside of my head.
Wow.
Type of thing.
I'm so fascinated. I'd like to go back even earlier to some of the childhood stuff, because I think so big, a really big key pivotal moment for me along my path and journey was when I recognized that, this is just like my imagination. When I started to recognize that the ability to receive information. I don't know how else to describe it, right? There's so many variables.
Yeah, it's so hard to describe, but yeah.
Right. But the thing that happens when I receive information is so similar to the way that I will create with my imagination that I just realized, it's like the same frequency. It's the same thing. So I just let go into this is just my imagination. And then it really took off. And then it got really, really big. And I always go back to childhood, and I can think so much about all of these different moments growing up where my imagination was vivid beyond all vivid, right? I just had the ability to just disappear into these spaces that I can still palpably feel even today. And so I'm just curious, what was it like for you? Because if you're having that experience 14, sitting down at the lunch table and being hey, it had to have been an amazing childhood on one hand, I'm sure.
Yes and no. But on the flip side, I think that at least I realized that I don't think I'm the only one, but I think a lot of people who are maybe like me and very empathic or clairvoyant to some degree, often experience a lot of trauma and stuff in our childhoods as well. And it's made me question a lot of times, am I the way I am because I am, or was my environment and being in a very ultra unsafe place make it so that I have to be super sensitive, like to everything that kind of, I don't know, right? Like I question that. And then at the same time, I also question whether it's made me more imaginative because reality kind of sucked so much that it was much easier to, like you said, imagine things. But at the time it was, like you said, I honestly did think it was my imagination, and I've struggled all my life but as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that the difference between my imagination and stuff, like I say, that stuff that's in my head that doesn't belong to me, like that kind of thing. Because I've had instances though, where it's like just really random, weird stuff comes into my head, like so random and weird that I'm like, yeah, I know I'm creative and imaginative and stuff, but like there was no leading up to that. Like it is this random weird thought in my head, or weird. Usually it's not even a thought. It's more a situation, an image, a place, a face, a thing, but everything's always very fuzzy. It's always like
a flash, isn't it? Doesn't it just feel like,
yes,
bam, look at this. And then you're like, what? And then you get the information that just continues to kind of like be drawn out almost as you sit with it.
That's a good way to describe it. But yeah, I was just explaining it to my partner, like trying to explain to him what it's like, that it's so fast. It's like, it's imagine somebody just going like this and you going like, okay, and trying to remember the bits and pieces that you kind of saw in the flash and make sense of it to know that it's not always literal. Like what exactly you see isn't always the message. And always isn't always the full picture. It's kind of also like, it's that flash, but it's like, did you see all of it? Did you just see a bit of it? And like you said, though, I find too, it's some though of my visions and stuff, I find that over time they get clearer. So I'll get them again, or maybe that's it. Maybe it's because I'm getting them over and over again that I can go like, oh, I saw that. Oh, I see a little bit more. See a little bit. It's like those, like, Where's Waldo pictures. Like it's finding the bits and pieces and stuff. But another part of that though, is I've come to realize it just really depends on the vision and the flash. But I've now come to realize a lot more about that, how much past is past, and that's fine. Sorry, I'm in a really uncomfortable chair, but I'm in a well-lit area. See, I had to compromise. It was one or the other. It was either well-lit or comfortable bum. So anyways, so I've come to realize though that maybe what we see can, like, especially future stuff can change, is definitely very changeable. And because that's the thing I've kind of realized as well, as I've given, whether I'm doing tarot card readings or just my own flashes that I see, is that I've noticed that the flashes can change, like that they can evolve. And that to me though, it helps. I've always believed this, though I do believe that there are some things that are kind of destined for us. There are some, our path to some degree is kind of marked out, but I do believe that we are individual beings with conscious choice and sovereign, and being able to decide that path. And that's part of the whole journey, and that it's not all preset totally, that there is some of it. But I fundamentally as well believe that we kind of sign up for every time it's rough for me, I always remind myself that, Mal, you signed up for this. It's like going to the roller coaster, right? I always am like, when you go to the amusement park, do you want to go on that, like those swans that go in a circle? No, I don't want to go on that. That's boring. I want to go on the roller coaster, right? Yeah. And of course, we all, when we're on the roller coaster, do we scream? Do we think that, holy crap, this is insane? Yeah, we do. But then at the end, we're like, wow, that was amazing. I kind of try to remind myself whenever I'm going through shitty stuff that in life, that I kind of signed up for the roller coaster. This is the roller coaster. And this is the part that's kind of shitty, is whatever part, the upside down part or the big drop part. But yeah, it's part of the whole thing. And that's the part too that I try for it's ironic though, that I have this gift, but I try really, really hard not to use it for myself or use it on my family, so to speak. So I honestly, like, I have a daughter, and I when she was younger, I used to like really kind of tune in sometimes to
Yeah.
try to really sense like what's going on with her, because she's being a teenager, she's keeping things from me. And I realized, though, again, because the future is changeable, I might get some flashes and then get really anxious but not realize that, like, she might make some different choices and it might not quite go that way, and again, it's only flashes. I'm only seeing bits and pieces. And so that's where I think I kind of have decided that having this gift and having this ability and stuff, whether I chose it or whether it was something I was naturally born with or it just happened because of circumstance.
Yeah, I want to go back to that spot in childhood. That I really think that's a really profound thing that you said of like, that's another thing that I had to unpack and kind of sit with is it's like I had, for a long time in my life, I saw my childhood through a specific lens and it was great. And then something happened in, life goes on and you heal and you get into shadow and suddenly you have a new way of looking at childhood and it's like peeling back layers and layers and layers. So as the childhood shifted and changed for me and I saw it through a different lens, it suddenly became very clear to me that I had an immense amount of trauma that I was under for an extended period of time. And the ability that I have to be able to just like instantaneously assess danger and navigate it and be able to like, do you know what I mean? There's like the senses that I have that like my spidey senses for danger are like super fine tuned. So it's this little thing where it's like, what's that? Where I can see body language and movement, like all of these things that I've really have been a massive benefit to me at times, really like life-saving things at times for me on my path. But I also see the correlation and connection to like, oh, I think that we have the built-in system to sense and feel energy, right? When I think about the intuition and the solar plexus and the ability to tap into it. So for me, it was always like, I mean, I still would struggle where I'm just really this broken little kid that had to survive, and it gave me the ability to like tune into different frequencies and things. But I also think that we all have that ability anyhow. And truthfully, those experiences that we have sometimes are what disconnects us from the frequencies and the abilities and the different things. So it was always a combination of both for me. But I love that you bring it up because I do think that oftentimes if you've got a lot of trauma in your childhood, like I said, I've had a lot, and not just in childhood either, right? And I think that being also connected to the other things that I had to be connected to in order to survive was really impactful when it comes to kind of being able to tune into different vibrations and frequencies. But I also think the ability that I had to dissociate so that I could actually survive those experiences gave me the ability to also tap into the imagination and the creation side of things, which truthfully, I think at this point in my life and my experiences and all of my like connection, I think that's the side that we truly are. I think that creation imagination side is what really is happening. And then it's just the pretend illusion that we're like not, right? Oh, I dissociate and pretend. No, that's what I'm doing all the time. This is the pretend down here.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a big long rant, right? But I just love that you brought it up because it reminded me so much of like, I really do think that we talk about shadow in here all the time and just the traumas that you experience and the way that they'll manifest over the course of your life. But then eventually, like they really become these gifts, the things that we've gone through and experienced. When you're able to heal, it becomes these big gifts that you get to turn around and share with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so the interesting part of that I've been more recently, because I feel I've been on this healing journey for a lot. I've been pretty self-aware, and whether it's who I am or my experiences and stuff. So I started doing yoga back when I was like a teenager. So for the record, I'm 50. So when I started, I actually, there was no yoga classes at gyms, or nobody was doing yoga. So I ended up going and doing yoga with Indian people. Because this yogi guy and there was all these Indian people, I was the only white person there, and it was cool. And I didn't really know what was going on, but I fundamentally knew in my gut that there was something about this that was really good, that there was something healing, but also empowering, all about it. So I did that when I was really younger. And looking back, I so wish I had just pursued it. But I remember bringing it up to my parents and saying like, hey, I want to take this yoga thing. And they're like, what? Like, what is this? And because literally no one knew what that was. And so, of course, they said, no, we're not going to support that. So looking back, though, I really wish I just said, screw that. I should just follow that because I would have been some weird ahead of the game yogi in the world. But no, I also had wished that it also helped me because even back then I was doing theater and I was taking people through like guided meditations, and looking back, like I have no idea how I knew how to do this stuff. Like I have no idea. I was like 17, 18, 19. Looking back, there was no internet really.
Right.
So I was a witchy person. I have no idea how I get into all this stuff because I've got some books from the library.
Do you feel like there was anybody in your family, like even in, extended family or anything like that?
No, I come from a Portuguese family, immigrants. So they are very Catholic. Okay. Super. My dad was actually a priest before he met my mom. Yeah. He was in the seminary and stuff. So he's like uber religious. And so growing up, I was always the real odd one. Like to say I was the black sheep is even an understatement. The shade of black. Yeah, well, because I was kind of witchy. They all thought that literally I'd made some pact with the devil because I was into that kind of stuff. They all did. They all thought I was something fundamentally wrong with me. But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
How did you navigate that? Like, how did you navigate that as you continue to kind of grow up and evolve, but also like countering some of that programming from childhood, especially around that strong Catholic, like the fact that your dad's a priest? I mean, that's going to be installing a whole bunch of stuff in you.
Oh yeah. Oh, sure it does. Well, no, yeah, I think I think I've spent pretty much my entire life kind of unpacking from it or trying to I think there was a time when I was a bit younger, like in my early teens and early 20s in my late teens and early 20s that I was like, a lot more witchy and kind of said as a rebellious part of me, I'm going to do it anyways, whether you like it or not. But I think as I got older, I just kind of got into line the way my parents would say it. And I kind of just moved away from all of that and got a job and got a house and got a mortgage and had a kid and did all that kind of thing. But had a few great adventures along the way, don't get me wrong. But I do feel like I kind of left behind a lot of myself. Like I kind of lost myself in that whole part of it. And I would say in the last probably 5 years in particular, I have been, this is the whole thing going to Scotland, has been a real relearning or refinding myself, a rediscovery of myself type of thing. And I say even before that, I'd say in the last 5 years, and it actually started here with TikTok because
I can relate so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just finish this part. So at TikTok, and this is where I kind of TikTok and my witchy side and doing all my spirituality side, all this kind of came together here on TikTok because about 5 years ago when the pandemic was happening, I was single. I was out of an abusive relationship. And I was like, I need to kind of reconnect with myself. And that's when I started doing tarot card readings. I was also doing gratitude, almost like ASMR before ASMR kind of thing, where I do kind of whispery gratitudes and affirmations and stuff at nighttime and stuff. So I started doing all that kind of stuff and doing spells and stuff online on lives and stuff. And so I did that for a little bit. And that's where I kind of started reconnecting with myself, being myself online and seeing that other people related to it. And then and also realizing that I was pretty good at it in terms of doing readings and stuff like that. And then it kind of gave me the confidence to just be myself and just kind of explore different things. So what about you?
Well, I want to hear about because I want to go from the experience at the lunchroom table where you first tap in and connect to this thing and have to it comes out of you. You're forced to share it in a sense, and forced maybe isn't the right word, but it comes out of you. Take me to some other of the key moments, because I think 2020 was the fact that you bring up 5 years ago. I think it was obviously first the entire world and all the ways that it was and everything like that. But I think it was such a catalyst moment in space-time energy for all of us, right? Where it was like
I agree.
a real pivot moment for a lot of people. And so I do think that the last 5 years has brought so much drastic change. And I want to get into like even just more of the weeds of it, because I think it's really been impactful for a lot of people that are on similar paths and journeys, right? There's a lot of healing, I think, that's gone on in the last 5 years because of what we've been confronted with and what we've had to change. And, you know, it really shifted up a lot of different stuff. But what are some of these key moments that stand out to you that were really pivotal, kind of driving you towards this direction of yourself and towards this direction of your connection with whatever it is for you, right? Source energy, consciousness, the universe. What are some of the things along the path there that stand out?
Well, yeah, like I said, like after when I was kind of doing the whole mom being a parent thing and kind of doing like being the adult thing, I felt like totally that was just that this part of me just was on a shelf somewhere. And so, and then it was pulled off the shelf and dusted off. And I would say that some key moments actually for me is that I remember doing, so maybe it's my science side of my brain, or maybe the fact that I came from a background of people who were real, like did not agree with what I did or were not supportive, but I am myself a cynic of what I do. I am a huge cynic of witchy things and a lot of like, I am very, very cynical of spells and witchcraft and candles and crystals and all those kinds of things. I absolutely am. But then at the same time, I can do it and it works. And then I'm like, well, how did that all work out? Right. So this, especially when it comes to, so fine enough with tarot card readings and stuff like that, but especially when it comes to spells, like I said, candles, crystals, herbs, all those kind of things that I see witchy people do and stuff.
What do you think is the difference there between those two things? Like one of them, you're like, I can kind of get on board with this thing, but then this other thing, even though I do it, even though I kind of see the benefit of it, even though I like, oh wait, I see that it actually is something I still struggle with. That what's the holdup there?
So what I see all those things are, and it's the same thing as your cards in front of you or these in front of me. I think spells, candles, all the things are really just ways to, oh, hello. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Are just ways to focus. Yes. There are ways to focus our energy, right? They are just, and in witchy people, they do that. And in Catholicism, they use rosaries. And in other cultures, they use chanting. And in other, you know what I mean? Like, so it's ultimately just a way to focus energy, focus intention, get you. And it's almost a little bit placebo, but it's the thing is, oh, that's awesome. I was like, so if you like, if whatever you believe, if you're sitting there saying in any capacity, I want this to be, then it's kind of like just manifesting, right? Like 101, right? Like you believe it and you chant it and you say it and you believe it and you put intention behind it. And guess what? It's probably most likely will happen. So, and that's what I kind of mean. It's not like I don't get behind it. It's ultimately because hey, don't get me wrong. I used to be that person. Back when I was my younger days, you went into my room and it was crystals and black and pentagrams and all the things. But I've just come to realize now that like, I just don't always need those to do what I need to do. But so you asked my story though, this is where I kind of had a really moment of my power and that when I want to. So I was having like a moment where I was just like really down. I was kind of in the down moment of a roller coaster ride kind of thing. And it happened to be like a full moon outside. And I was like, screw that. I'm going to let's do the spell thing. Let's just do it. It's fine. Let's just do it. So, I did the whole intention thing, a candle thing, and really I was just I wanted a win. Like ultimately that was I was asking for. I just wanted a win. I wanted something to go right for me. I wasn't really sure what exactly I wanted, but my intention was pretty gradual. I just wanted the universe to to be on my side and to give me a gift. That's what I was asking for. And then like literally the next day, I got this email from like some TV station that I had like won some like $1,000 like basket of like all these like self-care things and stuff like that. Like seriously. And that's when I had a moment of like, oh, okay. I can get behind these like candles and crystals, I guess, sometimes. No. Anyways, it just showed though, to me, it showed me that when I wanted to, oh, thank you so much. When I want to, I can be very powerful. And I think you said that to me in one of my lives. Actually, you said that to me a few times in our lives and stuff. You wrote down that you're a very powerful manifester or something to that extent. And so, and yeah, I truly I think that because it's happened a few times where things like that have kind of happened. And so since then though, like it was from that point on that I really believed really deep down that a lot of my life is very serendipitous. I just have to pay attention that the universe is like constantly doing things in my favor. I just need to kind of pay attention to it. And again, sometimes do things always go my way? No, as we were talking, like I did not get the job, but it's not seeing like the disappointments or the shut doors as like failures per se. They're just more like what was the lesson around that whole experience and how does that set you up for the next one type of thing. So
this is so awesome. I talk about this a lot sometimes in here through the lens of like, because what really helped me to get to this spot, we were actually talking about this earlier this evening because we had that moment we had like that hour lead up here where we got to hang out and chat with everybody. And the part where you can like step into recognizing that in some ways you're creating your reality, like you've got the 100%. Ability to just like you say, like, and then the next day this thing lands in your lap, right? And that for me, when I really started to tap into that and being able to like recognize, oh, wait, like it was simple stuff like parking stalls. Like I just don't get bad parking spots. I always get good parking spots, right? It's just like a thing, no matter where we go, we don't have to worry about it. Even if it's going to be like a concert or like, I always get a good spot. So I don't have to worry about that. But it's deeper for me now at this phase of life. But what has helped me so much be able to step into that was also healing and learning how to like love myself and how to connect myself and how to be more in tune with these parts of my body that help me stay in tune with that thing that I create with and that I kind of connect with and that I can be in connection with. And so I'm curious if you feel like it's similar where like the more you heal, the more you get into the space where you're connected and you recognize and you're in flow almost.
Ooh, okay. Well, it's interesting you say that because I've come to realize I used to be all those things. That was to me the goal, right? Was in the healing process was to get into the flow, to get into, all is good and positive in the universe and stuff. And what I've come to realize though is that in my healing journey, I really wanted that. I like that. And I just did not really want to go through the unpleasant stuff to get there. And what I've actually more recently it's really been hitting me hard is the fact that healing, as much as it is like being positive and grateful and all the things, part of real healing is being uncomfortable, is being uncertain, is being sad, is feeling like crap, is failing, is all the things, right? And so it's this, and it's messy. Like healing is like, I feel like again, a long journey of healing, but I'm still like at this part of my life that I'm like, yeah, I got it. I'm healed. And I'm still feeling like I'm just finally really cracking the dark stuff, the deep stuff, but realizing that the real healing is not just by recognizing it, it's by sitting in it, is by being uncomfortable, is by, and that's the whole part of it is I realized that I've spent most of my life in terms of the positive side, almost toxic positivity to some degree. But now it's the truth. Now it's I'm realizing also true that the healing, what real healing is. And that's the thing too. Part of me was like, I think my brain didn't really understand. To me, healing was I was broken or there were, things that were hurting and that need to be fixed. But now I realize though that real healing for me is authenticity, is being able to, especially again, knowing if what I told you in my past, growing up in a place where, and parents that did not see me or allow me to be who I really am. Yeah. In this, I realized that my true journey and healing in this lifetime is authenticity, is being able to tell my truth, be myself in my fullest capacity, and feel good about it. Right. And not feel.
I think that's like the biggest act of self-love. I feel like that's the biggest step of like, I'm going to finally not even allow myself, but embrace myself to be myself. And I'm just going to do that over and over and over again, constantly going towards what I want, what I need, what feels good, like me. I'm just going towards me finally.
But realizing in that journey, though, that's one thing is I was doing all that. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. But I also realized, though, on the flip side of it is that by choosing, if you are truly choosing you, if you are truly choosing yourself first and not self-abandoning, then you need to be able to sit through uncomfortable things. Yeah. And that's the thing I've realized is whatever it was, disappointment, sadness and stuff, the habits of the past of disassociating, whether it's now it's TikTok, a lot of scrolling of disassociating and distracting, but whether it's substances or whatever, media or just whatever, is realizing that I was not facing my truth, the truth of the situation, the truth of my feelings, the truth of anything, because it didn't feel good. And that's the one thing in my healing journey that I'm starting to really realize, but it's also giving myself the same medicine that I give others. So to your people that are watching. So when I do readings on TikTok, my big thing is that I do truth readings. And the way I see it is that I've been doing this long enough that I can tell the desperation in people when they come and ask questions sometimes. Like there are people that come on with general guidance. Hey, what's going on? I need some guidance. But I'm sure you can tell too, Blue,
the energy you can feel from people, huh?
The intensity, this the franticness, the desperation. And I'm like,
fear to me a lot.
It absolutely is fear. But that's the thing is I won't play it. I'm not going to feed into that person's fear. Fear of losing someone, fear of not having, well, that's what usually tends to drive a lot of these people's, I don't know if you've noticed, but for me, again, not trying to stereotype, but generalize, but I would say 90% of the people that I get readings for, people ask questions, it's always relationship based.
I think that, that the thing is I agree with you completely. I think the reason that is because it's such a crucial thing in this existence. I think it's the whole motherfucking thing is all about relationship. It's why we're here. And so it makes so much sense to me that it's like everybody wants to know, do I have connection? Do I have connection? Is connection safe? Is connection safe? Please let me know if this person loves me. Do they love me? Do they love me? Am I not alone, right? We don't want to be alone. At the end of the day is the big fear I feel like so many get. It's just crazy to me. Like you said, you can feel it sometimes when they come in and it's just palpable and it breaks my heart. But I agree where it's like, at some point, I had to go from this space of nobody else was going to come and do any of this shit for me. I had to do it. And that took me truthfully, we talked earlier about 2020 being such a pivotal moment. I feel like that's when this stuff really started to change and happen for me, where I had to be the one to kind of do all of this stuff. And by all of this stuff, I mean, it's I got to figure out my shit. I got to solve these problems. I got to fix all of these things that I've gone, that my life is just kind of in this chaotic pattern of chaos. And if I want it to not be that way, I'm going to have to be the one that does it. And that meant very much I got to face all these hard things that I've been avoiding my whole life. Do you feel like it intensified? And maybe intensified is the wrong word, but do you feel like after 2020, it was a real, like when that was that when stuff really started getting the ball rolling for you, when it's like, okay, I got to start dealing with some of these things, and in conjunction going more and more towards yourself because of it?
Yeah, no, it's funny you say, like, even like you said, like energetically, maybe that's the whole world was kind of going, because I look back on that whole like last 5 years and 5, 6, yeah, it's been quite a journey, right? It's been for me, yeah, like from like
Is this when the whole Scotland thing has come into your life as well?
Yeah, so like in a 5 year period, like just to give you like, it's been so insane. It's like, so 5 years ago, I was in a relationship with another person on TikTok who was like, he had a really big following, like almost 100,000 followers type of thing. And so we hooked up we met each other on TikTok. And then, so we ended up getting together, we were in a relationship and stuff. And, it was very public because we both would do lives and stuff together. Okay. And so we both had fought. It was a kind of an odd, kind of an interesting dynamic, but it was a really hard one for me because I was a lot more invested than he was type of thing. And the whole thing ended up like breaking down and on TikTok, like, yeah, basically no. I found out that he was cheating on me on TikTok.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So the whole thing kind of got crazy, all on TikTok. And I decided to call him out on TikTok because I was like, well, if we're going there, let's just go there. I'm not proud of that part of my life on TikTok. I was a little petty there, but yeah, it was really rough, but it was all in public display, but I learned a lot, but I decided to use, actually TikTok became my therapist for a while because I decided to take, instead of just sitting there and consuming everybody else's stuff about affairs and betrayals and stuff like that, I decided to like take what I was learning and just like do like a daily journal update on TikTok every day.
Nice.
But I tried to make it like what I'm learning about going through the process kind of thing. And so I think that's where it kind of first started, like, hey, having to like address and realize that I'm going through stuff and that I'm not alone, number one, but I'm also like, there's actual reasons why he was acting the way he was acting. I was acting the way I was acting. But that was so interesting. So that it was terrible though, like broke up. And then that's when my sister recommended this house sitting program. And she just said, Mel, like, you're a remote worker. Your daughter's like old enough to take care of herself. Why don't you like apply to this house sitting program? And I was like, okay. This was like in August. Yeah, it was about, 2 years ago, this August. And wow. I was sitting in a room and I said, okay, I'll apply. But I wasn't going to apply to any particular house sit. So I just went on the app and you can like different places. So I was like, I liked California, Italy, France, and then England and Scotland. And then I was like, my thought is I would go like maybe at Christmas or maybe in the next year or something like that. And someone from Scotland reached out to me and said, hey, you look great. Would you like apply for my house sit? And I was like, I don't know. And like, it was in like a month.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know, maybe. Cause I was getting, again, after that whole breakup, I was trying to reset my brain. And I was like, you got to say yes to things, Mel. You need to shake things up. You need to not be sad and stay here. And it just felt like it was the universe, like giving me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so I decided, okay. So I asked my boss, hey, can I do this? Can I work from Scotland for 6 weeks? She's like, sure. And then I was like, okay, I don't know if I have money for these plane tickets. And then I happened to look on my credit card. And because I hadn't used anything for years because of COVID, I had enough points to actually pay for my entire plane ticket over. Nice. And then, within four weeks, I was in Scotland on a farm taking care of chickens and dogs and things. And it's funny because that actually was part of the whole journey, is like, as much as people I myself, one of the main people, had this romantic version of what going to Scotland was going to be like. And I can tell you, my first journey to Scotland was nothing like I imagined or anybody else would imagine. There were no castles. It was out in a farm. I was all by myself, very remote. Other than my nearest neighbor was like down the road. And then that's it. Like that was it. And it was for that first time, 6 weeks. So it was a great experience though, because it really, number one, the internet sucked there, like sucked so bad that I couldn't do lives, but all I could do was upload some videos that would take like hours to upload.
Wow.
And I could maybe like watch videos, and that's all. I could even stream Netflix. That's how bad the internet was. And so, did I have moments? Yeah, but it was a great experience looking back on it, because it forced me for a period of time, especially after that breakup, to just be totally alone with myself, my demons, my thoughts, with these dogs and chickens in the middle of nowhere in Scotland. But despite the weird, I don't know, it was a great experience. I met lots of neat people out there. And then from there, I just kept coming back. So I left there and I just felt like, as soon as I left, I've missed it all immensely.
Yeah.
And then within a few months, I was back. And so since that point, so it was, 2 years ago that I applied for the house sitting program. And since then, I've been back to Scotland. I've done 6 house sits, and each of them are about 6 to 8 weeks long.
Wow.
And then I've also been there twice. Well, once as recently for a job interview, and then once on my birthday, just to go there for my birthday. So I actually put it all together. In the last 2 years, I've actually spent a total of 6 months in Scotland.
Holy cow.
I know.
That's so freaking awesome.
I know. So then I met somebody there. And so I tell people I fell in love with Scotland, and then I fell in love with a Scotsman, and then it's all good. So yeah, but it's very, like, here, just to show you how serendipitous my life can be with stuff.
But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like you were saying, right? The first initial time there, like, it's not the trip that you necessarily thought it was, but the trip you needed, right? You got to sit there, like, you got to confront all these things. You got to face the, like, frustrations, all the, like, what the hell am I doing at this damn farmhouse in the middle of Scotland now, right?
No, and then the irony is, at the moment I felt so out of place, but now I long to go back there. Like, I know when I moved to Scotland, eventually that's actually the area I want to live in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I've been and stayed in many places in Scotland, but I definitely, that is the area that I want to definitely be. And it also sparked, like, I'm working on a book that's set in like 60 AD. It's like a historical fiction. So yeah, it's been the whole journey there has been a bit of a help with that book and stuff. So I'm working on that as well. But yeah, so I was going to tell you another just story about, like, just how weird and serendipitous my life is.
Yeah.
So when I was in Scotland, and why people I love Scotland, Scottish people, on, like, very close to my last day there, there was only one bus from where I stayed into the city of Dundee. One bus that goes in and one bus that comes out. That's it. And so I needed to get out. I needed to, like, get to civilization. And so I just get the groceries and things. So I took the bus in to the city or town, and then I was taking the last bus out, and it got to, like, the main farm road or whatever into where I was. And the woman's like, I'm the last person on the bus. And she's like, where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going down that road. And she's like, I'm not going down that road. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, I can't. It's this part of the road is flooded, and I can't turn down that road in this direction. And I was like, but how am I going to get home? And so, because at this point it's dark, it's raining. It's probably about 3-4 mile walk in the dark on a country road. You got a Scottish country road. It's got to explain. There's no sidewalks. It's just like this narrow thing. So not the safest thing to be trekking in the middle of thing. And so I was like, and it was her last day of work. So she had been a bus driver. She had a tiara that said, like, retired. So I was her last trip of her last shift. And here is this Canadian girl. And I don't know, I just had been having a bad day that day, and I just lost it. Because my thought is like, holy shit, I'm going to have to walk 3 or 4 miles in the rain.
Mel, this sounds like a movie. Like, this all sounds like you're like this incredible experience. Keep going. This is so fun.
Okay, so then no, but this just shows that Scottish people are hilarious, because then it's like I'm like crying, she's just like going like in her strong Scottish accent, so I can't do a Scottish accent, and she's like, okay, you just stay calm, just a wee minute, everything's a wee minute, and then okay, so she goes out, she turns out the hazards, she puts some things out to pretend like the bus is broken down. And then she starts flagging people down. And then she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. The bus is broken. Would you mind taking this young lady home? So we did, but the problem is where we were is so remote. So it's not like there's tons of cars driving by. Yeah. So the first person that came by was kind of this like older, like guy. And she's like, she just, to the guy who slowed down, was like, are you okay? Is everybody okay? Because it's everyone's friendly there. And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm waiting for somebody. But so we passed on a few people, and then a family came, and then she's like, will you take her? Will you take her down the road? And they were so friendly. They totally took me down the road, and they were asking me questions and stuff like that.
I love that.
Of course, they know somebody in Canada. Everybody in Scotland knows somebody in Canada. And, but yeah, it just showed me though that like, yeah, Scottish people are awesome, but also that like, you know, people are there to help. And that was also part of the whole, well, I recently, me going there for a job interview, I had to like reach out for help to help get me there and stuff. So yeah, that whole experience made me realize that yeah, there are a lot of people on my journey that have been very helpful in getting me around along the way. But it's also made me realize like how much I love Scotland. I'm just so comfortable there. Like,
do you feel like you have like growing up for me, I had this real pull to Ireland. Like I went through what I would kind of in a fun, jokingly way kind of call like my Ireland phase, where I was really connected to all things Irish and Ireland. And I would like listen to Irish music at night before I went to bed. And like, I was very much like in this Ireland phase. And so I'm curious, did you have like any pull to Scotland, or was this kind of just completely out of left field for you?
No, actually, I had been in England, like I'd been in the past. I had, like when I was in my 20s, I dated somebody who ended up moving to England. And so I'd been to Nottingham and to London when I was in my, nothing really, like nothing made me go like, oh, I need to head north. Like I was like, it was just like, whatever. And even being in England, like I liked it, but there was nothing in me calling me to go back there specifically type of thing. But I don't know. I know it might sound a little crazy. It's going to sound crazy, but I'm going to say it out loud anyways. Because like, I really think that like in my past, I was in Scotland.
That's
like I truly believe
that. I feel like there's got to be something there, right? Like you go to places sometimes and you're just like, oh, I'm supposed to be here. This is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah.
And that's why I thought it was interesting when I started thinking about this book that I'm working on, because so it's set in 60 AD in Britannia. So at that point, so the Romans have entered Britain as we know it, and they're more in the south. And along the north, we have there's tribes all over Britain at this point, but the tribes in the north are called the Caledonii, and the Romans did not like them at all. They eventually became known as the Picts because they would dye their skin with a type of weed that would turn it blue. That's why you see in all the more modern, like Braveheart and stuff, you see the blue. But in old, ancient, like but Iron Age times, they actually would dye their skin with this. It's called woad, W-O-A-D, woad.
Wow.
And so, anyway, but a lot of these people, these tribes people, were taken as slaves. Like that was a very common practice by Romans. Like slavery that was their number one thing. And war and slavery, that was Rome's thing. And but so the Romans built a wall, Hadrian's Wall, which I got to visit in Scotland. Well, it's basically the border of Scotland and England. And it's this 75-mile wall that goes from coast to coast.
Wow.
And it's really fascinating that the Romans built this like 2,000 basically years ago. But so my story is of a woman of the Caledonii that gets captured by the Romans and gets brought down into the various settlements of Britain. And so the reason why it's a historical fiction, have you ever heard of Boudica?
No.
Ooh, Boudica's a cool character. She's actually a real person. It's not a character. She's a real human. So we have very, very few records of people of that time, Celts of that, whatever you want to call them, of that time, because those people did not write things down. But the good thing we have is the Romans did. The Romans were immaculate at like taking notes for freaking everything. And so, but everything we know is from their point of view. So you have to take it with a bit of grain of salt. Anyways, there is this tribe called, I can't remember the tribe's name, but they made a deal. The husband and the wife, her name was Boudica, made a deal with Rome to say, look, we'll be on your side. We'll be your allies. Just like, let us rule our little kingdom by ourselves. We'll pay you homage. We'll pay you money. And when the husband dies, that we get to choose who like takes care of things, because it is Celtic. In Celtic tradition, women can lead tribes as much as men can. It was a woman could take over a tribe as much as a man could. It was not seen as any, and actually what was very common in Celtic culture is for men to follow women in marriage. That's what I thought was interesting.
Nice.
So when a man joined, you would go and join the woman's family and their tribe and stuff. It was an interesting thing. Anywho, so Boudica, her husband died. And she's like, cool, okay, I'm going to run this tribe by myself with my daughters, all good. Rome comes, the general at the time goes, no, you know what? We changed our mind. We're going to take over everything. So like she kind of took over all of their lands. And because she kind of resisted and maybe said some inappropriate things, we don't really know. They had her flogged and her daughters raped. I'm allowed to say that. Anyways, so that was probably not the best thing to do. So they left. So they did that to her to show her, control, dominance, that kind of thing. They left. She was not in a good state. She raised an army of like 10,000 men. And then she just systematically went from like settlement to settlement to settlement and burnt it down. There's actually a great statue they have in London of Boudica with these like on a cart with horses, because they were known at the time to be really good on horseback with little carts. So at the time it was called Londonium. So she went to Colchester, and then she went to modern day London, burnt it to the ground. But anyways, the reason I bring this up is that you have a woman taking basically on the Roman army, and won a few of them, at least like for about a year, she was able to like keep defeating them. And then He basically took, the general at the time basically took all his soldiers. And this is where it gets kind of unfortunate, is that he slaughtered everybody. Like it was kind of like Game of Thrones, Red Way. Like he just slaughtered. They were so pissed at her and everybody. They slaughtered everybody, like men, children, everything. So anyways, my story takes place with the reason I know this character and all the history around it so well is that I have my story weaving in with her, so that my character, even though my character is fictional, interacts with her and her daughters and stuff, is dealing with Rome and stuff.
Mel, this is so freaking awesome. Like, okay, first and foremost, I want to talk about, this feels like your whole trip to Scotland, this whole experience, like within the last 2 years, everything that this has kind of like opened up in your life. I think about moments in our life where what it feels like to me is it's like suddenly a door opens, and it's not like into a closet or another room in the house. It's like suddenly a door opens into like this vast open space of like, oh my God, I had no idea this was here. And then you step into it and you're just like, this is here, this is here, this is here. It's like everything just keeps unfolding in more and more awesome ways. And it like, was a book in your space beforehand? Is this something, this was, oh my gosh.
No, so but a lot of, but I feel, okay, so two things though. I want to say that I do feel like, it's funny when you said about the expanse, like a door opening and an expanse, because it feels that way in my like spiritually or energetically.
Yeah.
It does feel, but it also feels like a quantum shift. Like it totally feels like I'm in a totally different, when I'm in Scotland, it's not, I know I'm in a different place, but I feel like I'm a totally different human being. Like I'm in a totally different, like, yeah, it's the strangest feeling to be places where I've never been. Like I know Scotland, I've been to a lot of places, but there are also a lot of places that I've never been before. But it does not matter whether it's a place I've been or never been. I always feel like everything is very familiar there. It's the strangest thing. And that's where I kind of feel that, like, because after my first, and that's where I kind of feel it is a bit of a quantum shift, or whether it was meant for me or whether I willed it to be. From my first trip, I came back and I remember doing some lives, and I would just kind of said, I want to move to Scotland. Like, you can ask people on my lives really early. I was saying, you know, a year and a half ago that I really want to move to Scotland. So the fact that, that we're here, I'm that close, like I'm close. I know it's going to happen.
Right.
I know it's going to happen. It's just a question of when.
Like, this is the creation thing, I think. Like, I feel like for me, what this feels like, that, like, what I can draw correlation and connection to, because like I described it as stepping into this new empty space that you didn't know existed. Like, for me, it feels a lot, because I've just come on TikTok this year. So I started this account back in March, and so much of this has just been this big creative space that I had no idea any of this was here. And I had to first step into the space before it started to unfold and open up. And oftentimes I think, because I could reflect back over the course of my life where it was like, there's these moments where I kind of, like I said, I had to step into an unknown space that was kind of scary. And the kind of scary throughout the course of my life has looked very different. Sometimes that kind of scary is like, holy shit, I have no idea what I'm doing. Right. Big, massive leap moments. But every single time I would step into these unknown spaces, it really feels like something opens up. And the more I would move into it, the more I would see and experience. And next thing you know, it feels like, oh, I'm creating this experience as I go along, where it's like, now I'm at the point with it where I feel like I've in some ways hacked it, like I figured it out. And so now I'm just like, oh, what do I want? I'm just going to create that. And then it just keeps happening.
Yeah. But I think well, I'm not sure what your goal is with this, with your account or with your podcast, but I'm going to assume it's to grow, right? Like most people it would be for it to grow. And I'm sure that, you know, you're experiencing as much as I'm experiencing with my whole experience with Scotland, is that it's not an instant thing. It requires, it's a journey. There does require a bit of resilience and consistency, and keep going and keep pushing, because like, would I have loved to just like, you know, a year ago, you know, married somebody and just moved to Scotland? But it's like, I don't want it to be that way. Like, for number one, I don't really want it to be that way. And then number two, it's like all these no's or rejections and stuff, to me, it's just part of the whole learning and growing. And for you, I'm guessing from so the reason I say this is that I have, just to let you know, I had this one woman who's also a Melanie in Australia, who I remember doing a reading for her. And she came on to I did readings for her because she was starting something on TikTok. She's like a female coach. She more just focuses on like younger girls, younger women, and providing kind of coaching and empowerment. And it was funny though, because she kept coming to me for readings about like, how do I do this? It's not working. Should I, you know, and I remember giving her tons of readings of like, you just, as much as you feeling like you're not getting anywhere and that it's slow, you need to just keep doing it. At this point, it's just consistency and plugging. And eventually you are going to get that one video that's going to go, you know, viral. And that's when you're going to know that this, you know, things are going to accelerate. And now she has like almost 50,000 followers. So it's like, so I know for you, Blue, like, yeah, you know, I know with this, like, it's going to grow and get bigger and it's going to be amazing. So,
yeah, I mean, it's so fun to be in the space, like the space that I feel like we're talking about right now is just creation, like being in flow with creation and being able to be so tapped into your body and so in touch with what you're feeling and experiencing to be able to navigate, you're not getting stuck in the low ends of things. And I do sometimes still, like, I have to actively remind myself to go towards happy thoughts, because I'll get very focused on negative things. And 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I'm still spiraling down into negativity, and my day is suddenly becoming shittier and shittier. And I have to be like, oh, damn it, it caught me again. And then I'm like, I do everything I can to just like find happy thoughts. What was most recent? Oh, there's one. And I just kind of like pull myself back up into the space of happiness and joy and love. But the more consistently I just stay there, then it's just literally like, I don't know what's happening next. Let's just see. Tonight's a really good example where it was like, I'm just going to kind of stay in this flowy, connective, creative space. And here we are, right? Like, it's so cool to just kind of watch as it unfolds. And it really feels like getting to watch, like, I think about metaphors. I'm a super metaphoric guy. Like, I love metaphors there. I think humans learn through metaphor and understand through metaphor and everything. But for me, movies represent so many different things. And I feel like this is the part of the movie where like shit's getting really good. Like, this is the part where it's like, I don't want to miss any step of this process, because everything I'm experiencing, I would love to like have instantaneous wake up tomorrow and here's all of, all of those things I'm totally open to receiving. But at the same time, I really like the journey of getting to where I'm going and getting to experience the journey and getting to be in it and see it and witness it. Like, this is the beginning phase of when stuff starts to really happen for my life, where it becomes my life finally. I get to create this thing finally, because I made all of these decisions and choices and actions and finally got to the spot where it's like, oh, I'm not doing all that old shit anymore. I'm going to create the thing that I want to experience. So it's so fun and it's so exciting. But like you say, like, there's work involved. You have to be able to navigate it and be with it, especially the uncomfortable stuff.
Well, and it's like you said, though, I'm like, I have the same issue, but that's the fine line. It's like, we have to be, so I'm also a personal trainer. So I've been a personal trainer for like 10 years. And I used to do, that's actually how I started on TikTok, was doing powerlifting and CrossFit and lifting weights. I know, it's crazy. So I used to train women, but during COVID, what I do did not translate well online. Heavy weights don't work well online. Yeah. And so I kind of got out of it. But the mentality and the approach of physical training, your muscles, right, really has helped me. Because whenever I get a little bit like off kilter, I just remind myself that my brain, my mind, or my emotions are really no different than a muscle, right? It just needs to be trained to in that, right now my emotions or my mental like reactions to things might not be healthy, because it might, like you said, like negative thoughts, like sometimes your brain, your brain has been trained to think that way, because it might not be healthy, but it's familiar, and our brain likes familiar. And the only way you're going to, like you said, the only way you can stop, being out of shape is go to the gym or move your body. And it's no different when it comes to your mind and your thoughts. You have to actively be like, no, this is the track. I don't want this track anymore. I want this track. And it's going to take a few times, just like going to the gym. No one's going to go to the gym once and come out and be super strong and buff and feel amazing. Usually at the first time you go to the gym, you feel like shit when you're done. But not right after, but the next day. But eventually it will get better, right? And you'll get your muscle memory and stuff. And I realized that it's the same thing when it comes to our nervous system, our spirituality and stuff, that it's something that it's like we just have to keep flexing it, keep practicing, and it gets better. I hope so. Like you said, though, because I've had those points in my life where I'm in a really good vibe, and if I start in a good vibe and I can stay in a good vibe, it's just much easier also to recover from like little dips, right? Because you're like,
Just stuff.
no worries.
Well, like even your most recent experience with going to Scotland and not getting the job, right? Like I can think back over the course of my life where some of the things that really wiped me out, I can see them now from a perspective of not just the thing that needed to happen to take me to the next thing, but also just like, I don't want to say I overreacted to things, but you can also just see them from a different perspective where it's like, oh, that's not too big of a deal. You're going to be all right. Like you can, like tomorrow's another day and everything, all those kind of things that we bring ourselves up out of those spaces with. But I feel like it gets to be much easier when you're practicing all these things that we're talking about, of staying in this positive mental headspace and emotional connection and all of these things. I want to get into your connection. I'm curious, with all the different things that you have done and kind of being on TikTok and the way that you've been on, what do you find like, because I feel like the more I get in these spaces with people and work with people, like earlier we were talking about being able to kind of like sense and feel the energy of the people as they come into the room and connect with, the experience. I feel like the more I'm in here, your metaphor of like going to the gym and working the muscle of it all, I feel like it's really apt, where it's like getting keener and keener, like clearer and clearer, like more and more and more connected, more and more clarity, more and more understanding. And I wonder if you can relate. Like it almost feels like I have access to things in a more deeper connected way because of all the just repetitive showing up in these spaces and connecting and working and connecting and working.
Well, yeah. Well, when you talk about these spaces, you mean like in TikTok? Oh my goodness, like doing readings for people, to me, helps me stay very connected with everything, because I find putting myself in this space doing readings for others, like I really have to put myself on the side, like my ego, my feelings, my thoughts and stuff. And I have to kind of be really tuned in, like you said, tuned into the energy, tuned into stuff. And that it's draining, but it's also a great experience. I feel like, in terms of really, like you said, getting into when you talked about the flow, that's when I find that I'm probably at my most flow, is when I come and do lives and do readings for people, more because of that. Like I said, I find that I really have to shut out a lot of my stuff, because I think as much as I've been trying, whether it's ADHD or I don't know what it is, but I do struggle that I have moments where I wake up, I meditate, I do all the things, and I've been really trying to not be reactive to things, but then, something bad can happen. And I like you said, I got to spiral. Negative thoughts. A therapist told me a long time ago to name your, like, the critical thought in your head, like the voice that's always very critical. So I called mine Janet, so I could be like, damn it, Janet, whenever she was yelling at me and telling me I was terrible. And but anyways, I try to, so I think that being, do
you feel like it's expanded your capacity to work with energy, to work with source, to connect in these ways? And how has it changed it?
Honestly, looking back, I think now in retrospect, I think that I've always had a really good, strong connection with whatever you want to call it, source, energy, the other side, whatever we want to call it. And like I said, from a very young age, I feel that looking back, there's a period of my life that I kind of just did this, no, you're not there, put it on the shelf or put it in a drawer and close the drawer, and was like, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to. And looking back on that point in my life, it's almost like I don't even it's almost like it was a different person. I did the things, it was like a puppet. I did all the things, but it was very disconnected. Looking back, I didn't have much joy, because I was just being the robot doing all the things that I'm supposed to do. And I thought, looking back, I thought it was happy, but I wasn't, like you said, there's definitely no flow, no energy, because I was, just pretty much disassociated all of that. And I would, like I said, in the last decade, but in particular in the last 5 years, that's when everything's kind of opened up. And I think that some of our hardest things, maybe it was going through COVID. Actually, my mom passed away right before COVID, but all that kind of stuff happening at the same time, the whole event of being like isolated and, you know, having a relationship breakup, I think to me were just a whole bunch of events. When I lost my job, there were just a whole bunch of sequences that really made me have to question everything because things were falling apart. And I think that's actually, but I think I'm sure you've experienced it too. Like, it's usually in our darkest times, our lowest moments, that like when things start opening up, awareness happens.
I feel the exact same way. I think those are the moments where, I mean, I talk about it a lot through just the lens of like contrast, where you know, the depth with which you can go into the shadow and experience things and be with things and the different parts of you that are wounded and hurt. It's countered by the light side of things. It's countered by love. It's countered by the other side of the spectrum that you'll then get to experience because you experienced that end of the spectrum. But it's incredibly difficult because when you get really dark into things and into the shit that life can suck us down in, right? Like life can get really, really dark and really, really hard and scary and dangerous. It's scary down there. And the things that have helped me and the things that I always talk about too in conjunction with it, because for me, I did it all alone, even though I wasn't alone. The illusion was that I was alone, but I wasn't actively reaching out for help. I wasn't actively, you know, pursuing that. And I think it's so important to recognize that we're not supposed to do it alone. There's no part of life that we're supposed to be doing by ourselves, I think. It's like we were talking about earlier, why everybody comes on this platform and they're like, tell me if this person loves me still. Tell me if we're going to get back together. Tell me if everything's going to be okay, is because how important relationship is to all of us. And so it makes so much sense that it's like, those are the things that are going to push us into the darkest corners of the recesses of our mind. But in doing so, I mean, you just find love. Love just comes out of those spots if you can hang on long enough, you know.
But so funny. So, but as you said that though, if we're getting close to the end, I was going to say, you're talking about love as your parting thoughts, I think. And I'm like, yeah, my parting thoughts is truth. Because what I've come to realize though, is that both in my relationships and I think in all these people's relationships that come and ask for advice, though they are seeking connection, right? They want connection so badly, but what they are scared of is truth. They are scared of their truth, like being honest and truthful with the person they're with, to say, hey, why are you treating me this way? Or, hey, I like you. Why aren't you liking me back? You know, like they're not willing to speak their truth. And I'm guilty of that as well, because they're scared, because to speak your truth means that events will happen. But that's ultimately, that's what I mean, is like in terms of there's love, but I think with love comes honesty and truth and people accepting you for your truth. Right. And so
100% agree. I think they come hand in hand. That's for me, I had the more I got real with myself and like faced all of those, there was a whole bunch of shit, my own truths that I was just not addressing at all. Right. Not even in regards to like other people in relationships, just my relationship with myself almost, where it was like, I was feeding myself so full of shit my whole life, lying to myself left and right, constantly avoiding things left, you know what I mean? And finally getting to the point where it was like, okay, I got to start facing some of those really, really big issues and get confronted with all of those things. But I always felt like it was, do you know what I mean? Like I said, it always comes back to love for me. It's always like, go through that, because on the other side of it's love. Truth comes with, oftentimes there's a card in the deck, the Joker, and the Joker is the truth. That's like, hey, you got to look at that thing that we keep telling you, you got to look at. And you say, well, I don't want to look at it. And the Joker says, sorry, you got to look at it. But it's this big love card. It's really the smack in the face sometimes, but also with so much love saying, you got to deal with your shit. It's the thing you got to get.
No, and that's the thing. Sometimes I know in my readings, sometimes I come across like a little bit harsh, but it's like it is coming out of a place of love. Because looking back, when I think of some of my moments where I was kind of spiraling and really trying to find like, I ultimately didn't want to face my truth, right? I was spiraling in my own dysfunction and my own avoidance, right? And I know, looking back, I wanted someone to not keep me in the spin, right? I wanted someone to do this to me, to be like, Mel, stop. What are you doing, right? But some people don't want to hear that, right? Like, some people, they just want to be sedated and told that.
I think about, like, for me, there were times throughout my life where I know that people were trying to give me the truth and I didn't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were so many times where I was tuned out to the realities of something because it was too hard for me to confront it. So it's like, I think that oftentimes where people know, like, we all know at the end of the day, I think a lot of times what I'm doing in here is just validating things for people. I feel like it's just this big validating experience because we all really know. People come into these spaces and ask questions that they already have the answers to. And you can tell, like, they're, especially when they're coming from that fear-based place. Please tell me that this thing is not happening. You mean the thing that you can sense and feel inside of your body that you know is happening? You mean that thing that's like sending you the signal to even ask the question? Like, you already know the answer to the question. Of course that's happening. Of course that's the experience. That's the thing that is telling you, hey, this doesn't feel good. Don't go in that direction anymore. And then it's just like, well, let's see if it gets validated. Oh, yep, it got validated again and again and again and again. Always the truth with love.
Yeah. No, it's funny you say, exactly. That's what I mean. There's a lot of people I find when they come asking for questions and stuff, it's they know they're asking a question because they know the answer, or they know what answer they want, right? And so their question, really comes down to, yes, you're saying validating, but I think you know this, is that if they don't get the validation they want from you, they'll just go to the next person and the next person until somebody does, right?
That's all I did. You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't like what this person's telling me. I'm not listening to them anymore.
They must be wrong. They must be wrong. I'm going to go to the next person. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, but it's what you said earlier. Like, some people are just not ready to handle the truth. Famous, like Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. Yes. Like, some people, they just can't. And they're just not ready to, right? They just don't have the capacity. And again, like you said, like, I'm guilty of this too. Like, as much as I say I would have liked to have someone in the past say, Mel, stop. What are you doing? Would I have listened? Depends. I guess depends on how they had said it to me, to be honest. But in my own dysfunction, if they had said, like, Mel, you're dysfunctional, you're whatever, would I have listened? No, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe.
It's interesting because there are times where, because I can also reflect back and see the moments where somebody did, like, when I did listen to people. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's these real gifts throughout life where people come in and they pop into your life for just a brief time, enough to, like, point you in a direction that you didn't see. And you're like, oh, and a lot of times it's stuff that I feel like I needed to see about myself.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So when you're talking about, like, shifting and expanding, I would say that's something I definitely noticed in the last 5 years in particular, has been just my awareness of signs and stuff. And so whether it's like numbers on the clock or numbers on things, but another sign that I've noticed is words. So when you were talking about, like, people, little messages. So I will find, like, I could be reading something and then all of a sudden I'm talking on the phone with someone and they'll say, like, that line or something. And I'll be like, oh, wow, that was weird. And then, like, the next day, someone else will say that word again. I'll be like, oh, okay, this is getting a little strange now. So, but seeing that, like, the universe is constantly kind of giving you little feedback and timbits and stuff, and just to paying attention to that, for sure.
Yeah, I love that one. I don't think I pay enough. I mean, I don't speak about that one enough. Because that happens to me all the time, where I will hear things, see things, read things, and then it just gets reflected back to you over and over and over again. And you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is it being reflected to you, or Is it like validation type of thing? Like, I don't know. Like, that's the part. I usually just take it as something to pay attention to. When I start seeing patterns in any part of my life, I kind of notice it's something to pay attention to, because if it happens once, okay. If it happens more than once, I'm like, oh, okay, now should I pay attention? Maybe, maybe not. And then if it happens 3 times, then it's like, this is getting a little bit more than a coincidence. Just a little, but maybe not. So, yeah. Awesome.
This has been so much freaking fun.
It's been great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we're able to do this.
Me too.
Because, I was honestly thinking about when I got back from Scotland, and I was like, I actually had it all typed out. I was going to send you some ideas, because I was like, I don't know what he wants to talk about for this podcast. But I was definitely wanted to hook up to do this, but for next week. But I'm so glad we got it done this week.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so awesome. Like, you're writing a book. I'm going to keep up to date on the book. And when the book's out, come back on the podcast and everything like that.
Can I? Yes. Awesome. And that'll help keep me motivated, because it's something that I'm like, I kind of committed to myself to finish it this year. Yeah. It's going to be tight, but I think it's possible to get it done this year, at least the draft. So
this sounds so awesome. And then, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Anything else that you have coming up, or anything else that you want to promote? We share all these episodes after the fact on YouTube, so people will be able to go and watch them as well.
Yeah, right now I'm just like doing, like, I'm going to start focusing my TikTok more on, because my goal is to move to Scotland. So because of visa applications and stuff, I'm going to probably be focusing a lot more of my content on Scottish history and Scottish content, just so that I can position myself better in the future. But if I appreciate people could follow, and if they want to learn about Scottish things, I am going to be doing a whole series, since I've been learning all this stuff about Celts.
Right.
I have one video.
Fascinating.
I had this one video that's been doing really well, that I did a while ago, but now it's blown back up again, about like, who are the Celts. And so I decided, I was like, oh, I have so much information about Celts and Romans and stuff like that. I'm going to do a few more videos about that. So if people are interested.
The episode where you were talking about, what was the name of that woman again? The
Boudica.
Yeah, Boudica. Like, you gave me so much information tonight and so much education tonight. So
I should do it. I've done a video.
Totally go down those rabbit holes and do those.
We should do another video about her. I did a video about her, but I think because the footage I put on was kind of graphic, it got censored by TikTok. Yeah. And it was like Roman stuff. It was like, what? It wasn't even that bad. I think because it had stabbings, and they made it like, I don't know, they put some content violation or not. You can see it, but it's one of those where you have to press to actually see it. It's not that bad.
It's so crazy, isn't it? It's so hard to figure out this app.
Right? I know. Some things that they allow, and I'm like, okay. And then other things that they don't allow, and I'm like, huh. Fascinating. Anyways.
Yes, everybody can follow Mel, Bewitching Thistle. If you're watching this after the fact, links to all of her stuff are down below. And again, you can come hang out with us. We record the podcast live every Friday night on TikTok at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then if you miss it, or you get to only catch part of the episodes, you can catch full episodes the following week on YouTube. So go subscribe there. And thank you so much, Mel. This was so freaking fun.
Thank you so much, very much for having me, Blue. Thanks everybody for having me. It's been great. I probably will maybe come on, do some readings later. So, yeah.
Awesome. Everybody go get some readings. Have a good night, Mel.
Okay.